Hello, Jeff Cowan here, and thank you for watching and listening. Now, I wanted to give you a quick pre-Hump Day message because I wanted to let you know that we're starting a new series of Hump Day messages. And the series actually started last week. Now, if you saw last week's message, you noticed that there's something really different about it. And what's different about it is that it was filmed live in front of an audience. And it was filmed at an event that I was involved in called The Best Training Day Ever. Now, that was one event because not only did it feature myself, but it featured Joe Verdi, Dave Anderson, Alan Ram, and Paul Folletti. Now, my portion of the program was so well received that I've had many phone calls and emails since that event, people requesting copies of it. And I figured instead of selling it, why not just chop it up into 10 different segments and use them as Hump Day messages and send them to you for free? Now, if you watched last week's message, you noticed that I was talking about the new customer that's out there in the marketplace. And in that discussion, I was talking about how important this new customer is and that you know who they are so you can handle them in the most professional way possible so you can be successful. I give you the first two steps, which was to know that number one, the customers need their vehicle, and number two, that they depend on their vehicle. This week you're going to get step 3. So what I'd recommend that you do is gather all your staff around and watch these messages because they're extremely important. And I really hope that you enjoy them and get out of them what the group did that day at the Best Training Day Ever. So with that, thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Customers need their cars and they depend on them. Let's go a step further. They're more willing to invest money in their vehicle versus any other personal item they own. Why? Because of everything I just said, and because they understand it's a machine. Now, your customers have been raised with machines. Been raised with them. As a matter of fact, when I was a little kid, I used to have these little toys called Tonka trucks. Anybody remember those? Used to play with them all the time. And the only way a Tonka truck ever had power is if you got down on your hands and knees and you pushed it around. My kids, on the other hand, and by the way, do you want to hear some good news about my kids? The last one just moved out. Now, if you've not experienced that yet, you just wait until you do. That's some killer stuff. I tell you what's so fun around the house. The other night I was sitting in the chair, and my dog looked up at me and he says, "You know what, Jeff?" And I said, "What, Weldon?" He says, "This empty nester stuff, this is killer." So even the dog's digging it. That's how good this stuff is. But I remember my kids, they were raised with machines. I remember walking into their room, watching them play with their PlayStation with 2 or 3 of their friends over, and somebody had set a glass of water on top of the PlayStation. And I said, "Hey, look, I wouldn't set the water up there because, boy, if somebody knocks that over, it ain't hurting nothing." Well, I know it ain't hurting nothing sitting there, but boy, if somebody was to knock that over, it shorted out, it ain't hurting nothing. Party on. Real conversation. So I walk out of the room, but what, an hour later, all the kids and their friends come screaming out of the room. Somebody knocked the water over. They don't have a PlayStation. And what ensued was 3 of the longest months in my kid's life up to that point. Because here's the rule. You didn't pay attention. You broke it. You want a new one. You buy it. Now, the good news is the 3 kids got together, cut yards. They babysat and did other various things to save their money. They saved their money, got another PlayStation, but in the process, they had learned a very valuable lesson. If you have a machine and want to get the highest return on your investment, you have to maintain it and occasionally repair it. To a kid, I can remember walking into their room when they were in school, later years when they were in school, watching them work on a homework assignment. They'd worked on it for weeks. The night before it was due, midnight, and they push the button for save, and the whole thing crashes. They lose it all. Why? Because they hadn't defragged it. They had it loaded with games that should have never been on there. And what they learned was if you have a machine, you have to keep it, you have to maintain it and do repairs. To the point where now they come over and they have $800 cell phones with protection on them and screen protection and the like, special cloths to clean off the screens on their TVs. So now these same people coming into your dealership with the biggest machine they're likely to ever buy in their life, their car, and you're not talking about maintenance, you're not talking about repair, they're going to think you're not serious about them, their vehicle, and your business, and they're not going to come back.